Hello, welcome to this session of Talking Tech, Women and Girls in ICT. My name is Sophie. I'm a junior at the Marymount School of New York, and today I'm delighted to be having a discussion about tech and tech careers with Ms. Rinalia Abdul Rahim, Senior Vice President of Strategy, Communications, and Engagement at the Internet Society. Talking Tech is a series celebrating girls and women in tech being recorded around the world between Girls in ICT Day 2020 and Girls in ICT Day 2021. Girls in ICT Day is an international day marked on the fourth Thursday of each April. In 2020, Girls in ICT Day was the 23rd of April. The objectives of Girls in ICT Day are to help create a global environment that empowers and encourages girls and young women to consider studies and careers in the growing fields of information and communications technology. The Talking Tech series is brought to you by the ITU, the UNICC, the Office of the UN Secretary General Envoy on Youth, and is in support of Equals, the Global Partnership for Gender Equality in the Digital Age. Marymount is pleased to be a partner on this session today. The goals of the series include 2. Interest and inspire girls and young women with information about a range of ICT careers that can be had. Bring before a broader audience some of the role model women in tech and share information about their career journeys and work. Offer diverse examples of how ICT is being used to support achievement of the Sustainable Development of Goals and other UN goals. Showcase initiatives that are working with girls to support them in ICT studies or future ICT careers. And provide girls and young women in tech with a leadership opportunity to represent and promote a girls in tech organization in which they are involved and promote it to a broader international audience. So to kick this session off, I'm going to talk a little bit more about Marymount, my school. The Marymount School of New York is an all-girls private school on the Upper East Side of Manhattan in New York City. And to follow Marymount's STEAM, or Science, Technology, Engineering, Art, and Math initiative, girls from all divisions use resources of 4 makerspaces to design solutions to real-world problems and work with computer code and robotics. Throughout my time at Marymount, I've really enjoyed getting to explore technology, these resources. So I'm delighted to now shift a conversation with Ms. Rinalia Abdul Rahim, Senior Vice President of Strategy, Communications, and Engagement at the Internet Society. So, Ms. Abdul Rahim, how did you get into technology and what was your path from then till your job now?
Thank you, Sophie. It is a real pleasure to be here with you, and please call me Rinalia, okay?
Okay.
So how did I get into technology and when? This was quite some time ago. I was introduced to computers in junior high school in the 80s. I grew up in Malaysia. It was a developing country. And computers were these chunky things back then, and they were very, very rare. Students had very limited access to computers, but we were taught a computer programming language called BASIC. I don't know if you know this, but I think the acronym stands for Beginner's All-Purpose Symbolic Instruction Code. So for me, BASIC was highly logical and I liked it, but I didn't have a lot of access to computers to become fluent. I couldn't practice at home because no one owned a computer at home at the time. And the next time I got access to a computer was many years later when I was at university in the US. And this time I was able to have my own personal laptop. It was an Apple even. It was still relatively chunky compared to today's standards, but it was beautiful to me and it was a marvel. It was like a magical thing. A cool thing about it was that I could set sound bites from one of my favorite films, The Princess Bride, as sound on some functions. And I still remember it to this day. And I'm wondering why I can't do it on my current computers. So how about you, Sophie? How did you get into technology?
So as a young girl, or in this day and age, I've had access to technology at a relatively younger age than most people who are a lot older than me. So at my first school, I think the first access to technology I had was we had like computer time at school where we'd go to the computer lab, and I was really young, so all we'd do was we'd play games and we'd make drawings on the programs on there. But then I didn't really have too much access to technology other than like devices like Kindles, iPads, that sort of thing, until I came to Marymount. And the technology that they had there was something that really attracted me to Marymount and made me want to come there. And so that's when I got my first computer personal laptop, because Marymount gives out iPads and laptops to every student at a 1-to-1 ratio. So I kind of got to explore with that. I got to do all my notes on there, which I love doing. And we kind of did everything online, which I really loved. And another thing was we had tech classes where we got to use the makerspace, which I mentioned previously. And we had tech class every week. And so then we'd do so many different projects where we'd use like coding, and we'd use the laser cutters and 3D printers to make things, to either like solve little problems we had, or just to make something fun. So yeah.
Okay, so in terms of my path from then to now, because I think you asked me this question as well. After I graduated from Princeton and Harvard universities, I returned home to my country, Malaysia. I had won a government scholarship to go to university in the US, so when I returned, I worked for a government agency to return the favor and do public service. I didn't study technology at university. I studied politics, economics, and public policy mostly. There were still other things, but these were the things that I concentrated on. So working for the government agency put me at the very center of technological development for ICTs in my country. The agency is called MIMOS, and it was a pioneer on everything related to the internet in Malaysia. It was incredible. It established the internet backbone, introduced the first internet service provider to people in the country, operated .my, which is Malaysia's country code top-level domain, established a national cybersecurity agency, and more. My job back then was to help develop national policies on ICTs, and it was an incredibly exciting time. ICTs were changing my country and the world, and I was part of that movement. It was all almost a blur because things moved so fast, but one of the things that I remember best, because it was special to me, was that a speech I had written was used by the Prime Minister to launch the national IT campaign in the late 90s. This was to mobilize the country to adopt ICTs on a large scale. The Prime Minister didn't know I wrote that speech, and I really didn't care. It was more important to me that I was of service to my country's development efforts and that I was working for a larger cause other than my own personal interest.
I think that kind of answers one of my other questions, was like something you're really proud of that you've done in technology. So is that something that follows that, or is there anything else that you're really proud of that you've done in technology?
Sure, there are two things that I'd like to flag because I'm talking to you and you're a young person.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I'm proud of is that I've established a program to support young social entrepreneurs in Asia who use ICTs at a time when it was not mainstream or popular to do so. And these young people used ICT to create social and economic value in their communities. And the other thing that I am most proud of, it's probably the biggest thing that I had done at that time, I've brought organizations across sectors together to form multi-stakeholder partnerships. I hope you're familiar with this term. It's basically bringing organizations from government, business, nonprofit organization entities like NGOs and academic institutions and the media to partner together in providing access to ICT and key knowledge to support development efforts in every region of the world, particularly in developing countries. And this is something that I'm very proud of because of the scale of it and the coverage. So Sophie, what's something you've done in tech that you are particularly excited about or proud of?
So I've definitely not gotten as far in my careers in tech as you have. So my things are a much smaller scale. But we've done a lot of projects in tech class, and I'm typically more analytical, like not sort of like the creative person. I'm not the best artist and that sort of thing. But one thing I did in freshman year that I was quite proud of was I made, we had a project where we had to take something from the Met and reimagine it. So I took a box from the Byzantine Empire and it had a bunch of scenes on it. And so I took those scenes and I drew on them through Photoshop and made like 100 different images to make into an animation. and saved all of those through Photoshop, and then used Scratch and programmed an animation so that when you'd click on each of the different scenes, it would show an animation of something that could have happened between those scenes. But yeah, I really enjoyed it just because it was really out of my comfort zone. And I think that's one of the things in tech that's most exciting is there's so many ways to explore and things that you haven't done before. And like, I'm not a good artist, but I still ended up making like an animation that I thought was really cool. And something like reimagine even like history. You can combine history and tech in this day and age, which is really, really cool to me. But yeah.
That's really creative. I would love to see that work of yours one day.
I have it saved on my computer. I have to find it, but
okay.
Yeah. So what's a lesson you've learned or a challenge you've encountered throughout the way through technology, especially as a woman?
A challenge that I've learned, a lesson learned. So I think anybody in life, regardless of whether male or female, will encounter challenges in life. And it will be unique to that person depending on the circumstances. I think that to overcome these things for me personally was to persevere, to listen to myself, to trust my own judgment, and most importantly, to learn from my mistakes. And the lessons that I've learned along the way that I'd like to share with you is to just be open to opportunities and don't be afraid to make a change in direction. At this point in your life, you're focused on one thing, but later on in life, you might change your mind and go towards other direction. And the thing is, everything that you've experienced, you will be able to bring together and apply it uniquely in your own way because it's your unique experience. I didn't study technology, but I'm able to make valuable contributions to support technology-related work, no matter where I am and in my own unique way. And I think that I should share a little bit about my job in technology now. I currently work for the Internet Society. It is a very special nonprofit organization that was established by Internet pioneers 29 years ago to advocate for and champion the Internet around the world. The Internet Society believes that the Internet is for everyone, really everyone, on the planet. At the moment, slightly less than half of the world's population still do not have access to the Internet, and we need to bridge this gap, as access to the Internet is critical to support people's livelihoods and connection, something that the global pandemic has made very clear everywhere. The Internet Society works to make the Internet bigger and stronger so that more people can have access to the Internet and so that their use of the Internet is secure. My job is to help the Internet Society achieve the impact that it wants to have in the world where the Internet is concerned.
I think it's like so crazy the fact that we always look at how fast the world is changing and how much tech there is around us, but it's still a fact that so many people still don't have access to that. But it's so great that the Internet Society is looking to make that change in the world.
I agree. It's needed, and I'm really glad that I'm a part of it.
Yeah. So since this series is about girls and women in technology, what's something you hope to see from girls in technology in the future, and do you have any advice for them?
So the difference between then and now for me, in terms of opportunities that were available to me and opportunities that are available to you now, is that you have the opportunity to get really close and deep into the technology itself. And my advice is just to get into it, understand it, tear it apart if you have to, and figure out how to put it back together, and just persevere and use it and apply it for the benefit of humanity. And also, as a personal advice, is do things for your own personal satisfaction instead of external recognition. And this will stand you in good stead throughout your life.
Yeah.
And you, Sophie, do you have any messages for other young people in tech?
I think from my experience in tech, it can be a bit frustrating sometimes when you can't get something to work and you keep trying, as it's something sometimes you can't control and it's a bit new. But my advice is to keep trying, keep going. If you have to take a break, that's okay too. But the outcome, you're always going to be satisfied that you completed something once you've tried it. So thank you so much for our conversation. This wraps up our session for today for Talking Tech, Women and Girls in ICT. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed our chat today. And thanks so much, everyone, for watching.
Thank you, Sophie. It was a pleasure.